Welcome and good evening, everybody, to a special edition of Simply Hermosa. I'm super excited tonight because, are we live? I'm super excited tonight to have Kelsey here in the studio with me. For those that don't know Chelsey, she is Ketohalfasser. And excuse me if I say that incorrectly, because I'm always...
No, that's how you say it.
I'm super excited to have you here. You know, we met each other, so it's been a couple years when Diego had his little very good restaurant over there. You remember we were trying to get him to do some keto stuff?
Yeah, he did good keto stuff.
Yeah, he really did. So for those of my fans that don't know you, can you give us a little bit about yourself and, what and how have you gotten involved with keto?
Sure. So I am a local Tucsonan, born and raised. I spent the majority of my life being very, very overweight. I was pushing about 350 pounds, and I'm about 5'1", 5'2", 5'1 and a half, I guess. And so I was just getting to a point where it was starting to impact my health. I had reached, my early 30s, and...
Oh, okay. I know we're both sorry. Sorry. We had some technical difficulties there in the studio, but
I'd reached my early 30s, and it just got to a point where I felt like I needed to actually do something. I kind of had skated by most of my life, being that large size, and I still felt beautiful. That was never really an issue. But it was when, I had a series of health issues start to occur. My dad ended up passing away from congestive heart failure.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. And so that really terrified me. And then I started to experience rapid heart rate, and I had hypertension, and I had sleep apnea, and I just had a series of these obesity related health issues. And then I ended up getting kicked off of a roller coaster at Universal Studios when Mike and I went on vacation. And that really just kind of put everything into perspective for me. Everything kind of came full circle, where I just realized my quality of life was just diminishing, and it was at my own hands. I was doing it to myself. And so I made the decision when we got back from vacation to kind of really take it seriously. And I honestly just kind of stumbled into keto. It was never something that I was intending on, ever doing, but I was researching different options. I'd gone to a bariatric surgery presentation, and I knew that wasn't going to be the tool for me. And then I was scrolling Facebook one day, just randomly, and one of my friends had posted how she lost 100 pounds with keto. And I was like, what is keto? I need to do this because I know her in real life. She's not selling me anything, And so I just started intensely Googling it and kind of just immersing myself in the knowledge about it. And I came home from work that week, and I told Mike, I'm keto now.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I hope you're cool with that. But whether you are or not, I'm keto now. So, and that's kind of how it started.
And of course you were under the care of a doctor, before you started that, right? I mean, it's not just something that you jumped into without looking into other, like you just said, other options. You just knew that you needed to make a change. Mm-hmm. What I love about Simply Hermosa is that we bring women and men in, but our main focus has been women, especially women that are not necessarily societal norms. And then, of course, I always ask any woman that comes onto the show, what makes you beautiful? And you did start to say that you felt beautiful no matter what size. So it's really important for other women to recognize that you can be beautiful at any size,
Absolutely.
At any point. But I will ask you that question: what makes you beautiful?
So I think that's an amazing question, and I think everyone should ask themselves that question, at some point in their life. But for me, it's always been the energy that you put out into the world, that it should be a beautiful energy, and then you become more beautiful, inside and out. And, when you live a beautiful life, you radiate good. And I think that's the most beautiful thing you could do for yourself.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One of the things that, when we embarked on Simply Hermosa, we were, specifically tailoring it to curvier girls, just because there are some obstacles that curvy girls
Oh, yeah.
encounter in their day to day. Like some girls can't just go into any store and buy whatever they want
that was
to.
me.
And that's, it's limited your choices on what you can wear and how you feel about yourself. Because as a curvy girl, you want to wear everything that everybody else is wearing. You know, you want to feel good in what you're wearing. And so choices are limited. It's getting better, but it's not there yet. And so when we started, like when I did the fashion show, I just wanted to show other women that even though you're not what you see on Facebook or Instagram, you're still absolutely beautiful inside and out. And when we brought them to the fashion show, they kind of just glowed from within, because it's like a transformation. They don't necessarily celebrate themselves.
Yeah.
So that's the basis of what our nonprofit is empowering women and empowering people to become their best self. To be celebrated, to be seen, to be heard, because a lot of times you don't feel seen, you don't feel heard.
Yeah, and a lot of times you don't want to. I mean, that was me. I always wanted to just blend in. I didn't really want to stick out, because I felt like my weight made me stick out enough,
And there's a lot of insecurities that come out of that too,
Oh, yeah.
So it's awesome, and I'm so happy that you're here. How has this changed your life?
In what way hasn't it changed my life? I mean, my life is honestly so different than before. So I started this when I was, it was the beginning of 2018. So this is like my 6th year. And I now am able to just like, not only do you have physical differences, like obviously I'm a smaller size, so I can go into any store and like pick out anything off of the shelf, which is something that I wasn't able to do. Being a size 30 jean, I wasn't able to go to most stores and do that. So, I mean, in that way, it's changed. It's made things that I had so much anxiety about just disappear. So, like, very normal, everyday things that most people just would not think twice about, like being able to walk through the grocery store without your feet throbbing, or without needing to scan for a bench at every place you go. Like, if we ever went to a mall, or if we ever went anywhere, I was always looking for seating, because I knew that my feet couldn't withstand, walking around for more than like 15 minutes at a time. So I would need to take breaks and sit down, just going to get the mail and then at work. And then I would come in and I would be out of breath and, sweating. And it was so embarrassing, because I just went to the mailbox kind of a thing. And being able to go to any restaurant, like even a restaurant I'm not, familiar with, and being able to fit in a booth.
Yeah.
Because many a times we would go and we would get seated at a booth and I wouldn't fit. And it was so embarrassing. Or like if I'm carpooling, for example, with a friend, I don't know if the seatbelt in the car would wrap around my body. There were instances where the seatbelt wouldn't fit around my body. So I was always carrying this anxiety around me, especially like if I was like going to dinner or something with friends, and then I would have anxiety all day about, okay, we're going to this restaurant. What if they want to sit up at a high top and I can't pull my big body up there, or I can't fit in the booth, and then everyone's going to be embarrassed and it's going to be my fault. So like I was always carrying this crippling anxiety. And so that in itself, like just being alleviated of that, just in the non-scale victory way, has been great. Being able to get on an airplane without having
The extender.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that was embarrassing. Like having to sit in an airplane. I was sitting between two people, and I was the last one to board, and because we were late, and I had to have a seat extender. So I had to, raise my hand, and the whole plane was like listening, and awful. So you have a lot of freedom that like you don't really consider or think about as a normal sized person. Like if you've never lived your life in a larger body, these are things that you would just never think about.
And when we say a curvy person, that most of America, 82% of women in the United States are considered curvy.
Oh, yeah.
Plus size starts at size 12, but people don't talk about that. And the average woman is a size 18, 16, 18. Mm-hmm. So when you put that in perspective, there's a lot of societal things that come up with women, and I think it's not so much the men, but it's more the women that put a lot of unnecessary things out there you know?
Well, you're ingrained since birth to, you're taught this certain body image. So like you're in every movie. I mean, if you go back and look at 2000s or 90s movies, the fat girl character is depicted, and she's like, if you look at it now, I mean, she's like a size 10 or whatever, like my size. I'm like, God, like, so we're just constantly influenced and trained into like have this perspective of, what's normal and what's not normal. And so I can totally see how it would morph your way of feeling about yourself, And that's why I wanted to bring other women around to Pop Studios, and especially to Simply Hermosa, because there are everybody's perspective is such a different journey. You have these really self-conscious times, but you can be a size 2 and still be self-conscious and still have these insecurities. It's all about the way that you carry yourself. So thank you so much for sharing some of these vulnerabilities with us, because it takes a lot of courage to talk about it. It's because a lot of us don't talk about, the things that make us uncomfortable. So thank you so much. Here's a question. What are some common misconceptions about the keto diet that you have encountered? I think a big misconception is that you are just eating a ton of fat all day long. So a ton of butter and you're just packing it in. And really that's not, I guess you could do keto that way, but that's not the way I would do keto, or I suggest you do keto, especially if you're doing it for weight loss. For me, keto is being in a state of ketosis, which is done when you lower your carb intake. So it's not necessarily putting a bunch of fat in your diet, it's taking the carbs out of your diet. So that's really what I would focus on. So I would, eat a burger without a bun, or a lettuce wrapped sandwich, or pasta sauce. And instead of putting it over spaghetti noodles, I would put it over like broccoli or, something like that, or like some other vegetable. And I loved that. So it's really about like taking away the carbs, because if you can keep your body in a state of ketosis, that typically happens for most people when you stay like between 20 and 40, say like net carbs. And so that forces your body to run off of body fat. And so it's like you're burning a cleaner fuel, I always like to say. It's like you're going from unleaded when you're burning glucose to burning fat for fuel, which is like going to premium. You feel so good. It's more efficient. It's like a cleaner fuel. And so you feel amazing, like all the time on it. And so I think when people see keto, or like the misconception they have about keto is that it's so unhealthy, it's terrible for your heart, but it's actually so beneficial for most people, because you're removing sugar, you're removing
removing the refined
simple
sugar,
carbs. Yeah. And those are things that aren't necessarily like great for you anyways. Like you can't tell me that it's better to have spaghetti pasta instead of broccoli with sauce. You know what I mean? And so it's all just kind of a shift, because a lot of people just think keto, butter.
And then how do you handle the cravings for non-keto foods?
I am a big substitute person. I love having swaps. That is what helped me a lot, stay consistent, because, like when I had about 200 pounds to lose. So when you have that much weight to lose, you have to be in it for the long haul. You have to be prepared that this isn't going to come off in, a couple weeks. Like you're going to have to do this probably for a couple years at least.
And so there goes to that instant gratification that we just talked about.
Right. And so it's important to have small goals, because you do want to celebrate like every little milestone, so you stay motivated, but with like the swaps, like for example, if Mike and I would go to a Mexican restaurant, I would bring my own like low carb chips, and then I could have chips and salsa at the table while he's having regular chips and salsa. So like I don't feel like I'm missing out. I don't feel left out. And so then if he has a dessert, I will either bring my own like little like keto bar or dessert, or I like have stuff at home. And so I never feel like I'm missing out. And that was important for me, was to always feel like I was, I had a swap. I had some sugar-free sweets that I could have, especially for like the sweet cravings and stuff. That's really important.
I just kind of want to chime in here. Chelsey is so inspiring. That's what Chrissy Verdugo said.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Elizabeth Sarah said, thank you sharing these vulnerable experiences and emotions because it's important. Like I said, we don't think that people are listening to us or we're inspiring others. But I mean, talking about your story and being vulnerable, it does help. It helps others to say, oh, okay, they know what I'm thinking. They kind of know what I'm feeling. And so it's always important for that. So what advice would you give to a beginner that's just starting the diet?
So definitely have some swaps around, especially if you're a sugar person. Keep in mind that I think the hardest when you're kind of like detoxing from real sugar, especially when you've been eating it your whole life, you're probably going to need a few weeks, because it's for me, I felt like I was coming off of like a drug when I was detoxing from sugar. So it's all a mental game too. So definitely remember that weight loss happens here. That's number one. Like, it's a mental game. It is not physically difficult to like not pick up a donut, put it in your mouth. It's mentally difficult because you keep convincing yourself that you need the donut, put it in your mouth. So you have to stay very strong-willed. But if you have a, moment of weakness, don't let it completely derail you because we're all human. We all do it. I have had many moments of weakness and look at me, it's about picking yourself back up and just getting right back on the horse. You have to just keep it moving. Business as usual the next day. You have an off-plan day, go back the next day, start with your next meal, and then just keep it moving.
And then I guess one of the other questions that I have for you is so have you completely eliminated sugar for the long haul, or do you have cheat meals?
Yeah. And I would say, so there's kind of a difference now because for me, I am more now like in a maintenance mode. So I was in weight loss mode, I would say, for probably like 4 years or so. So the last couple of years I've been more maintenance. So during weight loss mode, I still definitely had cheat days. I would say 2 or 3 a month. I would go, have whatever meal I wanted, that day. And I still lost almost 200 pounds doing that. Nowadays, I still try to eat keto for the most part just because it makes me feel the best. But like on weekends now, I don't really think about it, because I'm not trying to lose that substantial amount of weight anymore. I'm mostly just trying to now maintain. And so I can maintain now, by having my weekends or like going out to dinner with Mike. And so it's maintenance is definitely a different animal, like, because it's more about balance and trying to find out how you can, what you can include and then what maybe won't work for your lifestyle. And so it's definitely a different animal than weight loss mode for sure.
That's awesome. How has, because you're married, and how has...
I'm not married.
Well,
I'm living in sin.
There you go. It's all the same. It's all the same. He's your person. How is your person adjusting to your lifestyle?
He's good. He's fine. He is just like, even if he wasn't good or wasn't fine, like, this journey was about me. Mm-hmm. Honestly. And like, he is my partner and he has been very supportive throughout the whole thing, but it wouldn't have mattered because I was focused on a goal for myself, and my goal was to stay alive. And I was so terrified of dying. Like, I would have moments where I felt like I was going to maybe like keel over on the toilet or something, and like people were going to find me dead at home because I had a heart attack in my, early 30s from my weight. And so when you have that kind of fear and motivation, like, it doesn't really matter if you're supported or not. You support yourself, and you're doing this for yourself,
That's awesome. You have a very, and he's very supportive of you. We've seen that. And
and he's also a good little keto boy most of the time. Well, sometimes. But, he does it. It's good when he does it and he's good about it because he has, type 2 diabetes. So it's very, very beneficial, keto, because it's just such a good diet to do when you have type 2 diabetes. It really helps his blood sugar. We check it all the time, and it's improved so much.
So in relation to your keto, I mean, obviously that's been a huge factor in your weight loss, but what else are you doing to maintain, to, to keep yourself moving and keep yourself active? Because that, I mean, obviously we want to keep those muscles strong, and so.
Story of my life. Yeah. That is always something that I'm trying to better for myself. It's really always a goal, because I am just a lazy creature, and I will get in some good habits, and I'll get in a good walking routine. I work from home now, but for a while I worked, in an office. And so every single day I would leave the office and go for a 45-minute walk. I literally did it every day, rain or shine, no matter what. And then I started working from home, and I just stopped. And so I am always trying to incorporate movement, because when I was 350 pounds, movement felt like a punishment. It felt like something that was so difficult that it was miserable. And now that I'm a more manageable weight, movement is enjoyable. And I'm so appreciative of my ability to walk and my ability to move my body the way that I can now, because I couldn't do that before. So I always try to remember that I need to just be so appreciative of the ability that I have now that I didn't have before. And I worked so hard to get this ability, and so I really should stay, incorporate something. But I have a walking pad at home that I've really been enjoying. I have a vibration plate that I like to stand on sometimes, which is great, a lot actually. And then I also like to do low impact, YouTube workouts. I really like those. I like the low impact, kickboxing type workouts and stuff. Those are really fun.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. You've been influencing now on this journey. So give us a little, give us a little behind the scenes on how you got started, and I mean, where it's gone, because you've been on national television shows, you've been on national magazines. So give us a little, how has that been?
So crazy. It is so crazy. And that's kind of just another way how my life has changed. I've been on Inside Edition, and I've been on the Daily Mail, and I've been in these magazines all over the country, which is just so crazy, because it's just crazy to me that my story is that interesting to people. But I'm so grateful for it too, because it really has granted me a lot of opportunity. And it's funny because you've thanked me a few times for being vulnerable. But when I started my Instagram account, I did it anonymously, because I wanted to start this journey in private. I wanted nobody to know. I think Mike was literally the only person on earth that knew I was doing it. Because if I failed, I wanted to fail privately. I didn't want to do that publicly. So because I ate out so much, so that was just our lifestyle. So that's the other thing that I did with keto to make me successful, is I conformed it to my lifestyle. Mike and I eat out all the time. We go to dinner after work. That's how we unwind. That's how we reconnect after our day. And I knew that doing a diet was going to have to fit with my lifestyle. I wasn't going to change, make my diet conform to my life. I was going to conform my life, So I basically was able to do that. And so and at the time on Instagram, there weren't very many, people that were sharing how they could order keto or keto options at all the different fast food places or restaurants that we would go to. So I just kind of taught myself how to do it at most of the places. And I'm like, God, I should share this, because this is really good. Texas Roadhouse, I would order loaded broccoli, instead of a baked potato. I would get broccoli loaded like a baked potato. Broccoli isn't even on the menu at Texas Roadhouse, but I do it, and they always do it. And so I started sharing stuff like that, and it just kind of caught on. And then after about a year, I had stuck with keto for a year, and I had lost 100 pounds. And I showed my face for the very, very first time on my Instagram page. And I had probably had a few thousand followers at that point. So after about a year, I lost about 100 pounds. I showed my face, and I never, even before keto, would ever post my body. There were no pictures of my body, on the internet. And so being able to post a picture of my body, a before and after photo, I had to really work up to that. So the vulnerability is something that I've had to work up to, because I started this completely anonymously, and so now it's evolved to where, I have 200,000 followers on TikTok, and I have 85,000 followers or whatever on Instagram. And so so many people now follow my journey. And so it's just something that's evolved into that. And I couldn't be more thankful for it, because it's just so funny how it morphed into that. But yeah, it's very much like, granted, so many interesting opportunities for sure. I've gotten to work with like a lot of different companies and meet a lot of people. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Yeah.
I know every time you unbox something, I was like, okay, what is that? What is that? Let me go try that one. So it's really neat to see, you know, I do follow you. I've been a fan since I met you, and I was like, oh, I'm so inspired, because it is really hard. It is really hard to stay focused and stay committed.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
You know, everyone has to have their own why, I would say. And so for me, the first several years while I was, you know, in the mindset of losing the weight for my health, I was so motivated by my blood work improvement, because you had asked me if I was, you know, under the care of a doctor. And so before I started keto, I went to the doctor, and my blood work was not great. And I was terrified that I had type 2 diabetes.
Right.
I didn't, but I was borderline. Yeah, it's borderline. And so my doctor tried to get me to go on like a low calorie, whatever diet. So I had kind of started keto on my own. But then when I went back for the first time, after 3 months of doing keto, I went and got blood work done. So much improvement. I mean, amazing improvement. My A1C, just in, I think it was either my 3 month or 6 month mark of doing keto, my A1C went from 5.8 to 4.8.
Oh my gosh.
It had dropped like a whole point, which is so
huge.
good. Yeah.
It's
and
huge.
My triglycerides went from like 120 to 37. You know, my HDL, which is your good cholesterol, I went from like low 40s, that's a good cardiovascular, you know, marker for women, especially. Like, you want high HDL. So my HDL was like 40s, which is very, very low. And so it went up to like 70 something. And so like these improvements were just so motivating. And so it made me want to keep doing it, you know, because why would I stop when it's clearly like making my blood work like so amazing? And my doctor was just so impressed. Like, she couldn't believe it. She was like, oh my gosh. Well, this is like a crazy improvement in such a short amount of time.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's very inspiring. Like I said, we always want to bring people to the show that have a story that not everybody knows. And so it's nice to see the behind the scenes of who Miss Chelsey is. Any piece of advice that you would give to somebody that's considering it? Like because once you start keto, you're not going to feel good, because you're not going to feel good.
It's a rough transition. And so like, I think you have to keep that in mind. I mean, that's probably any diet, to be honest, whether it's like low calorie or low carb or whatever, it's going to be a transition, because you're going from eating whatever you want to, you know, watching and eating a specific way. And so what helped me was remembering that I had 30 plus years of eating like an asshole, eating whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, you know, however much I wanted. And I was going to be just fine for a couple years, like by changing it, you know, by skipping the French fries. My favorite food in the world is French fries. I would be fine if I skipped the French fries for like a little while, you know what I mean? To hit a goal. And so that food will always be there for you. If you like, when you're ready for it, like when you want to have, you know, your French fries, it'll still be there. It's fine. You don't need it all the time. And I think I also learned, like, because when you cut out sugar like that, I think it really makes you like hone in on your nutrition, because you realize that like these treats that exist, like cake or, you know, just fruit or just any type of like sweet treat, sugary dessert, like it's meant to be not every day and like not multiple times a day, which is how I was using, you know, sweets and sugar and stuff like that, you know? So like my breakfast would be like a large caramel iced latte from Dunkin' and a chocolate Long John. And then for lunch, I would go get a burger and fries or whatever at some fast food joint. And then for dinner, Texas Roadhouse, I'd get like a chicken fried steak with gravy and mashed potatoes and rolls. And that's literally like so bad because it's just not, it's so many
It's so many carbs.
It's so many calories. It's so many carbs. And I mean, calories matter too when you're doing weight loss. And the reason why keto works for so many people is because it's such a good tool to suppress your hunger. Because being in just a calorie deficit, which yes, that's definitely like something that's important for weight loss. But when you're just counting calories and you're just in a calorie deficit, it doesn't help your hunger. And the hunger is what makes people go off plan and like overeat or, crave other things. But with keto, that hunger, it's like putting a blanket on your hunger, and it just helps in that way. It's like, it's such a good tool because, you're not constantly like thinking about your next meal and like the food that you need to eat because keto kind of suppresses the hunger. So that's like another reason why it's successful for a lot of people.
Great. I am very interested in what your doctor said, like after like you've reached all these amazing goals and you're in a better space, and what does that look like now when you go to the doctor? They're like, okay.
I was so sad when my doctor, so I had the same doctor for like probably 3 years. And so she was my doctor before I started keto. And then, during keto, she was my doctor, like while I had the most weight loss, and she was just so supportive. Like, cause some doctors really don't recommend keto, cause they're kind of like, oh, it's bad for your heart or it's a lot of butter or whatever. But when you're doing it to where, like I said, like just lowering the carbs, it's really not. But she was always so supportive, and she would just express how proud she was of me every visit. And that always made me so emotional because like, it's almost like a mother figure type thing, because like I don't have either of my parents anymore. So like when an adult in my life, like that I look up to and respect tells me that they're proud of me, it's so motivating. It's so motivating and touching.
So what does Kelsey look like a year from now? Chelsey, what does that look like for you?
I don't know. That's a good question. Hopefully, I hope Mike is listening, maybe driving like a fancy new car because my truck is paid off in a few months. And so I told him it's my turn. I want a fancy little car. So maybe doing some projects or something. I have some things that I've kind of wanted to get off the ground, but it's hard when you have a full-time job and kind of just wear a lot of hats and do a lot of things. So time is always something that isn't available to me, but I do what I can.
Oh, that's great. Are you looking forward to like maybe doing classes on keto?
I don't know. I do have a one-on-one service that I offer. So like I have the ability on my website where you can book a call with me and you can do like a 25-minute call or a 45-minute call. And I don't know, I never love calling it coaching just because I feel like it's your time. So if you want to use that time to ask me questions, ask me what I ate, tell you how I would order at certain restaurants, or if you want to ask me, about how I'm motivated or just tips or whatever, like it's really their time to ask whatever they want. And so it can be coaching. Some people just need the support when they're starting a journey like this. Like I wasn't like that. I didn't really need anyone's support, but some people aren't like that and they want a friend or they want someone where they feel like they have, someone to ask questions to or lean on. And so I do have that, which I think that's probably the extent of the classes that I would like to do, honestly, just because I feel like a weight loss journey, whether it's keto or not, people really have to take accountability for themselves. And so when you offer like a service to teach or to coach or whatever, you're taking on some of that accountability if they're not successful. And so that's always been my issue with that.
So Michael said no car. He said no. He said no.
Block him.
What's the best way to order a keto wiener? Oh, wow.
No bun, extra mustard, extra onion, hold the ketchup, unless you're gonna ration your ketchup, just because there's a lot of sugar in ketchup. It's actually shocking how much sugar there's in ketchup. So sometimes I'll have it and I'll just have a little bit, but I usually do it with no bun.
What's your favorite meal?
Oh my gosh. I really, really love Texas Roadhouse. They have, honestly, for the price and the quality, I really love a Texas Roadhouse steak. That's probably one of my favorite meals is Texas Roadhouse loaded broccoli and a steak. But I also love Alfredo with chicken over broccoli. That's another one of my favorite meals.
Okay. So you did say that you guys eat out a lot, but at the house, what do you, when you don't go out, what is your favorite meal at the house that you make or that Mike makes?
So something that we have all the time is the Johnsonville Better Cheddars with keto hot dog buns that they sell. They're like the Oro Wheat brand. I love those buns. They're so good. I think they're like 4 or 5 carbs each, but they're amazing. So we'll have those Better Cheddars with the keto buns, and then I'll get like no sugar ketchup or whatever, or no sugar added ketchup at home. And then I've been making these keto enchiladas that are really good. It's like more of like a casserole. So I'll do low carb tortillas, like shredded chicken with some salsa and sour cream and cheese, and kind of like layer it in a pan. It's really, really good. Enchilada sauce. I also like doing white people taco night, with like the ground beef, and then I'll do like we'll do that on some low carb tortillas. But also, if you say you're gluten sensitive or whatever, so you can't do like the low carb tortillas because they're still made with wheat and gluten. I used to just get an avocado, cut it in half, and I would top my halved avocado with all of my taco toppings, and it was so good. I actually sometimes prefer that over a tortilla.
Oh, nice. So breakfast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a perfect breakfast.
Yeah. For like throw a fried egg on there. Yeah, that would be so good with some hot sauce.
Yeah. So Diego used to make these amazing tacos shells.
Cheese shells.
Yes.
I taught him, by the way, how to perfect
I learned from the best.
Yeah. Thank you. The keto cheese shell, because like he was doing it good, but I was like, no, you got to make it a little thinner. And like he learned how to do the perfect little pile of shredded cheese, get it on the flatbed grill, the flat top. And it was so good. So good. And they're very easy to make at home too. If you do, like you can even microwave it actually. Like if you just microwave a pile of shredded cheese for like 20 seconds, you can make it your own little taco shell.
Okay.
Gluten-free.
Yeah, those are good for anything really.
Yeah.
I eat a shit ton now with my weight loss journey. I eat a ton now, so it's great.
Of the cheese shell tacos?
Yeah.
Diego has lost 40 pounds doing
Congratulations.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
We're proud of him.
It's a big deal,
It is.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Of course you can.
Okay, I actually got 3 questions. All right. Number 1 is I want if you can actually the most important one. What do you what's your opinion about this whole like Ozempic phase and this fad and all this, like, because I'm going to tell you what, like before when I lost weight the first time, it was encouraging because people were like, "Oh my gosh, that's so much. Oh, I'm so proud of you." Now it's like when I tell people I lost weight, they think I'm on the fucking needle.
Yeah.
They think
It's
I'm on
just
the needle.
an automatic assumption.
Yeah,
now
now it's just an automatic assumption, and then and it just throws all your credit. It just throws all your credibility out there.
But if it wasn't Ozempic, like with me, people would just accuse me of having weight loss surgery.
Exactly,
because people just cannot believe that substantial weight loss is possible with food. It's so hard for people to grasp. And so they are always just going to be so quick to like doubt it and be like, no, you definitely are on Ozempic or whatever. But to answer your question though, I support Ozempic. Like it's just a tool. You know what I mean? It's a tool just like keto. It's a tool just like calorie counting. It's a tool just like bariatric surgery. But obviously there's higher risks with like bariatric surgery. There's higher risks with Ozempic because it's a medication. So it's just, you have to weigh out your risk and reward. But I totally support whatever method that anyone wants to use to get healthier, because the health problems that come from being, morbidly obese will very likely outweigh, the health problems that you could get from like Ozempic.
You know what? I agree with you to a certain extent, and that's because if it's something like Ozempic, that's going to be a little, obviously technology is going to change in the future. But I mean, weight loss is a lifestyle,
Yeah.
and it helps you make better decisions. But it wouldn't something like Ozempic that's going to be a little bit better. It's like, oh, I can eat whatever the hell I want now
Yeah.
because I could just take a shot.
Yeah, and I think that the way that Ozempic works for weight loss is it's affects your hormones, and so it makes you less hungry.
Right,
essentially.
exactly.
And so when you're on a weight loss journey, like I was telling Bernadette, like when you're just counting calories, you're never not hungry. Like you're always hungry. That's being in a calorie deficit. Like it's just always being a little friggin' hungry, And so like Ozempic just kind of like takes that away.
Exactly. And then you know what? And then and I believe that too. But I think in the future, the science and they're going to come up with something that just eats fat with just with something. With
what a time
shot,
to be alive.
with a pill or something.
Are you telling me I could eat chocolate long johns
I know,
again
I
and
know,
like maintain
yeah.
my weight? That'd be amazing.
But I mean, and that's the question. Like, so you take all these foods away, and then you come back. Have you felt? Because when I was doing things like I went on a like no caffeine. I took the caffeine away. I will never. I will never do that again because I do suffer from migraines, and it just made it 10 times worse. But I have to cut back, and then I cut out refined sugars, and I started to eat potatoes, and I was I put that starch. I had to take that starch away because it makes me sick.
I think everybody reacts differently. So when you take away and then reintroduce, because you could be someone that if you take something away, like for example, like potatoes or whatever, you could then build an intolerance to it when you want to incorporate it again. So, and that's something that you're going to have to everyone's going to have to find out on their own. That was never an issue for me. And I don't know if it's because I had, my occasional cheat meal. So I was never like 100% like cutting out all sugar and all carbs kind of a thing. It's something that I would still have periodically, but I think when people are very, very strict and maybe like say if you go carnivore for like a year, you're only eating, animal products and meat or whatever for like a year. If you ever want to stop that and then go back to eating, even if it's like a little bit of bread or whatever, it could make you so sick because you're now like intolerant to it. And so I never personally had that issue, but I'm sure it's definitely possible.
I got another question real quick. Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in.
Go ahead.
So first of all, I just want to put a disclaimer. Chelsey is not a nutritionist. She didn't go to school for anything like that.
No.
She's not a doctor.
Chelsea's dumb.
She's speaking on the experience that she has, which is very important, and the weight loss journey that she has taken, and which is incredible. And which means this brings me up to my next question. You're a social media influencer, obviously. I mean, you have over 80,000 followers on Instagram. You've been around for a while. Congratulations. You do branding for other people. You do review stuff and everything, which is awesome. Any of that pressure? Do you feel any of that pressure to like, fall off the wagon? Like, hey, because now I have this, now I have all these followers and I built up this whole social media, and it's built off your weight loss and what you've done and sponsoring keto. So do you have any pressure into like, not like I said, I call falling off the wagon, but you know what I mean? To not just like binge eat or like, or anything like that.
So I've never felt like I had to be performative at all for, my social media following. I feel like I have a following because I'm just so what you see is what you get with me, and people appreciate that. I think I am an influencer, quote unquote, but I'm very much like a no bullshit influencer. Like I will not sell you anything. I turn away probably 85% of my brand deals because it's not anything that I would personally ever use or want or care about or talk about or share, And so I just don't feel that any type of pressure like that. Like if I were to, gain 200 pounds back tomorrow, I would be very authentic about it, like this, I had something happen. I gained it back. Here's my journey of, trying to lose it again kind of a thing, So no, I've never really felt the pressure that I had to like put on or like show up or succeed or whatever for my following.
Okay. That's a good one. Here's the question that everybody would want to know. Well, I want to know. You've done this huge weight loss. How, and skin doesn't necessarily go back to. So how is that for you?
That is such a good question that I'm glad you brought up, because it is probably like the number one thing that people will ask me, and it's making them hesitant to start because they're worried about the loose skin. I am absolutely covered in loose skin. Like, I have it literally everywhere. I have it in my chin area, my arms, my thighs, my stomach, my legs. Like, I have loose skin all over my body, and I would never go back. I would take every inch of loose skin, now over going back and having those health issues and the anxiety and all of the things that come with being 350 pounds at 5'2". I would absolutely gladly take the loose skin. You know what I mean? It's just never been something that has been a consideration at all in this journey. And so, of course, not everyone is like that. And, I get asked too, like, if I'm going to have surgery to remove it. Honestly, probably not, because it's just not something that's that important to me. I don't want to spend the money on it. I don't want to have the downtime from it. Like, it's just not anything that I feel like is important enough for me personally. And of course, not everyone is going to agree with that. And I think you have to do what's best for you and what's going to make you the happiest. But as far as the loose skin, I absolutely would not make it a factor in whether you start a journey or not, because who cares? You know what I mean? Like, it's so trivial at the end of the day. If you have loose skin, it's absolutely so trivial. And what's important is your longevity and your health and being here, for your family and for yourself, and like living this long, beautiful life. And whether you're doing that, with loose skin or not, it should be a non-issue.
Yeah, that's a great answer, because again, people are like, there's a lot of, again, misconceptions and a lot of fears, and it's something that you're going to do for yourself. You have to do it. Has to be something that you commit to do for yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you.
Yeah, and I mean, I've lost almost 200 pounds, and so you don't lose that amount of weight without having loose skin. Like, and I, of course, would rather not have it, but I mean, I did it to myself. Like, I would love to go back in time and not stretch my body out the way that I did. You know what I mean? But then again, it's like, really, would I? Because it's taught me so many like life lessons too. And so, I don't even know if I would, but like, of course I would rather not have it, but it's definitely not something that's going to make or break the decision, to get healthy. So
I'm trying to see if we missed any of these comments.
Just Mike telling me he's not getting me a car.
I know.
Rude.
He says that you're on some magazine called
No.
Hustler.
Conform These Nuts. He did. He put right here.
Yeah, he did.
Conform These. The biggest troll, right?
He is such a troll. Why do you like him?
And then he put when you were talking about your A1C, he says that's a low ABC score.
He's the worst.
But it's a good thing that you guys have all this humor between yourselves. So again, because you don't need that person to pull you through like your diet, but you do need somebody to share.
Oh yeah.
So
Life would be so boring without Mike. He knows that. Every time we have a little rift, he's like, you would be so bored without me. And I'm like, I know, God damn it, it's true. But like, and that's why him and I work. Like, we're just funny. Like, we're very easygoing, like laid back. We've been together 20 years. I think maybe longer than that. I can't remember anymore.
So again, you're not married, but you've lasted longer than most marriages. So
yeah, through thick and thin, literally. I told him he's lucky he got grandfathered into this.
He's your death person. You ain't going nowhere, Michael. You just get the car. Oh, that's funny. Well, I would like to just one more time, thank you for coming out. We've been talking about this since I started. I was like, Diego, you know who I want? I really want Chelsey on the show. I really want to pick her brain about what she's been through, her experiences. And thank you for answering what makes you beautiful. I did want to kind of just jump on here and give props to some of my to some of my sponsors. I would like to thank. Hang on, let me get to my flyer because I'm really bad at that. Veronica Virone is one of our amazing sponsors, and she asked me to share some information. She's got a young lady that is a dancer, and we're trying to raise some funds for her. I don't have that information, but I will tag her in the post, and we'll go ahead and share that the next time out. That's something that Simply Hermosa is all about, giving back to the community, giving back to kids, especially because, without the kids, that's where we're at. Here at Pop Studios, we're all about giving back. Alex and Jamie do an excellent job as well. We've got quite a few people here at Pop Studios that do have some kind of nonprofit, or they do nonprofit work. So thank you to everyone here at Pop Studios for giving back to the community. Richard is Diego's son, and we want to support him too. So this is a big family here at Simply Hermosa and Pop Studios, and I can be more blessed to be here. I'm super inspired every time I come in with the people that are surrounding us. Pre-game is one of our sponsors for tonight, and so is Moments by Sherry. She's a photographer that will be taking pictures at our Breakfast with Santa event. This is our first annual event happening December 1st, which is a Sunday. We are looking for vendors, and we would like to invite the community out. This is our big fundraiser to kick off Simply Hermosa's Women in STEM program. We're going to be hosting some STEM projects, and this is all going towards those events. We'll have more information to follow. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of Simply Hermosa. Do you have anything else that you want to add tonight before we check out?
I just want to thank you for having me. It was a great time.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for being a part of us here at Pop Studios. Thank you, Diego, for producing another great show. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.